Hi, everybody. Welcome to BMC Exchange 2021. I am so pleased to have Trung Quash from Videotron once again joining us. This will be the third installment that we have done with BMC Exchange and what Trung has brought with Videotron and all the game changers that I have on there. And for today's presentation, I'll be your host and kind of moderator, Dave Schmidt. I'm the Director of Solution Marketing here for the Digital Service and Operations Management Group. And we're here talking about, solving kind of the service paradoxes, which is really providing those game-changing critical services, meeting employee expectations, and achieving operational efficiency. And once again, so pleased to invite Trung Quash. Once again, welcome to BMC Exchange 2021.
Thanks, Dave, for having me. Thank you for BMC as well. You can see it in the title this year as I think we pushed really the limits. So we've been fast and furious, and I'm very pleased that I can talk about it today. So if you don't mind, Dave, I'll start.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and why don't you just remind everybody, kind of what Videotron is, what's your business about, maybe give some stats and figures of your business.
Perfect. So I have present this each time I've been here, but I think you guys have more clients and have more employees as well. So let's go through it as well. So Videotron is a telecom company, and we offer 4 services. Okay. On the left here, for IPTV, we have internet at home, we have mobile, and we have home phone. We are around 6,500 employees to make sure that we give the best customer service ever for those services. And we have won the prize many years, according to Forrester, about customer service.
Excellent. So let's go dive down into kind of what you're looking at and kind of into your area of expertise of talking about certainly from a services standpoint, or just kind of give a kind of brief recall for catch us up on kind of where we were kind of last year.
Perfect. So I'll go from last year to before or just this year, because I'm going to talk to you guys about the big change coming up. So last year I was the leader of IT infrastructure and operation, and we had some big projects we talked last year that can bring a lot of speed and cost reduction. And we had some really fun stuff to talk about. So let's start with that. And I chose a couple of them because we have a lot. So let's deep dive in them. So those 4 projects are the major one that I believe we did that bring us some great benefits. And as you can see, the tools that are helping us in the middle is BMC Helix. I don't see how I can do those things, that type of difficulties, without BMC Helix. So let's start with the first one, top left. So the general control is basically the auditing process. Okay, so we have to, how do we do the process control? How do we execute ITIL process in there? And how do incident service requests? And how do we make sure that we fix it? And we of course we always have to give evidence on what happened, why, and everything. So how do we do all that? But automation. Right? There's data that we have in your tools. There's automation to help us. The bottom left is how do we do self-healing? This is all about how can we make sure infrastructure availability is always the best, right? Of course, we have incident, but how can we heal ourselves so fast and we follow the process and the tools to make sure that we can quantify that as well? Okay. The third one, I've talked about this last year, but this year I really have good stats. So it's the zero call resolution for service desk. So how do we move from a lot of first call resolution, like the best practice in the market, to the zero call resolution? And of course, the AI, I think, Dave, this is always been the hardest for me. and it still is. But I think we're very close this year to put that in product. Actually, it's in November, so very soon. I'm going to talk about this a bit later, but I'm very happy to do this, even though I think the hardest in all of them.
And I know we talked a lot about this kind of last year, but one thing also strikes to me: each one of these projects, in and of itself, seem fairly big in scale, in complexity, requires a variety of things to be highly coordinated, especially looking at things like, let's say, I'll just say self-healing. As you're expanding all these different services and things and providing it to the speed of business, that level of complexity of your environment and infrastructure grows, I would imagine, exponentially. And so even to take a look at it, just understanding what the environment is, much less how to self-heal it, that's got to be fairly kind of a daunting type of task. So I guess, and looking at all these four in the aggregate, how did you come up with kind of the strategy and approach of saying, okay, last year, Trung, this is what you needed to go do. How do you go put that? How do you kind of grab, stitch these together? Because these seemingly, in and of themselves, seem to be very different in scope and in scale.
Absolutely, but all of them have something in common, and the business has been asking that to IT for as long as I did IT, right? So it's always the same thing. Can you do it faster, cheaper, but better? And most of the IT guys said, no, we can't have two of them. But I think that we found the good strategy to do it. We always go by that rule, and then slowly we attack one at a time. But it's when you have the service desk with you and when you have the admins, it's so easy to understand what's the pain point, right? Like AI, yes, we had to put a strategy. We're going there. We're going to be better. Self-healing. This is something I did not invent this, right? So it's part of the big scheme. But the auditing, it's something that the admins tell me, Trung, we don't like to do this. It's not our job, and we're not good at it. So and if you want us to do this, we add more people. But the business doesn't let me add more people. So that's how we come with that. Same thing for first call resolution, right? Adding more people doesn't make you better.
Right.
So those two was really what I hear on the field.
And I think one of the other things too to reinforce, and we went through great detail again in last session, was a lot of the focus on to kind of bring this into scope or as an attackable type of problem. It's focus on process and focus in on those procedural steps you can do it, because certainly for AI or self-healing, having that process level defined seems to be the right recipe for putting automation, orchestration, or any kind of AI on top of that. Can you go a little bit more and kind of from a process standpoint, or how important that is to making these four areas succeed?
Absolutely. So each time we want to take something and make it better with automation, with data, we always do the same mistake. We go in the technology right away. And this is how we felt, right? And then after that, we said, no, there's something wrong with this. We're asking more money, but our project is to reduce costs. We're going to create more errors, but our project is to make data better, right? So we go down to the process. We always end up starting with technology and end up in the process. And this is how we fix all of it.
No, it makes sense. Actually, and I think if I'm not reading ahead too far, if we look at the next slide, I think you'll see some of the payoffs for what that process, along with other things, looked at.
Absolutely. So we'll go, because I know usually most of the question we have is about the KPIs, and you guys love those KPIs, so let's go with it. So IT general controls, auditing. So we were 2.37 more successful. So whatever score I had the year before, last year I got double, okay? More than double, actually. Faster, we were almost 2 times faster. And that usually, Dave, were like, I would say 80% faster. But this one was a bit hard because there was a lot of times that people did not follow the process no more. So we hit some walls, like people did not remember what was the process. So we had to redefine the process. That's why only almost 2 times faster. We could have been a lot faster than this. Because we were faster and we're more successful, we can do the process of auditing 4 times more in a year than what we did before. Because manually, I did not finish that. I had to restart.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But this time, I could do it 4 times. So it was great. For the auditor, was very happy. Right? and we actually did it 42% less expensive. So this really, we did more with less faster. Right?
And that seems to be a huge paradox. In fact, there's probably a couple things here to unpack. One is, I would imagine when that's not, I mean, here on the slide, especially from an auditor standpoint, the comprehensive data set that you have meets that auditing criteria. So the quality, as well as also the scope and scale, I would also imagine plays a pretty important part in the success factors.
Absolutely. But you know what? With automation putting data in the right tool, we found out that it was actually easier. It looks a bit harder to begin with, but after that, you were sure your data is good. So good that right here, we even did the part of the auditor's job. So we asked them, what are you checking?
Right.
What do you compare this with what? And then if that happens, what do you do? Do you fail us? Do you say success? So we automate that and we put even the evidence in the right place, exactly what they want.
I don't imagine too, and again, this may be a what if scenario, but if you're adding new capabilities or new things that would be comprehensive as controls, it'd probably be easier to scale and be flexible to add those new things on it, because now you have the structure set up. So almost in a way, it's almost kind of a plug and play if you're adding new type of systems on there.
I have to say a lot more plug and play than before.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was always new people, they didn't know the process, we had to go over again, and we always fell.
And then in terms of one last thing before we go on to the other category, in terms of less expensive, is that just because you're saving time? You're not going back and doing double investigation to say, hey, is this number really right? Can you go a little bit more on kind of how that was the less expensive part, or how you measure that?
Yeah, so before we used to measure that, we create a code in SAP to tell us how much time do we put in ITGC. And now, because we're not putting the time, because we're just putting the time to control the automation, the orchestrator from BMC is doing the job. Right? That's how I calculate it.
Excellent.
So the second one, self-healing, is more for admin. So for 2,097 times per month, we have incident and we had to fix it. So even though the guys, they start to use the tools from BMC and others to correct the thing, they were not following process. So they did both now. So, and the way it works is it opens an event, open an incident. Oh, something's wrong there. Check that, guys. And then it opened a change, and we know the action to make the change. Why? Because we master our process, right? So the change, we do action. The even is checking after that. It says everything's fine, guys. So we close the change, we close the incident. 2,000 time a month with admins, third level support is a lot of money.
And I would imagine too, going back to even like the comment on the controls, the quality is there. So you do have the orchestration, you do have the AI on it, but you're making an intelligent, based decision. So that way, when an L3 tech is really needed, it's not for the mass volumes, it's for those things that are really complex and really difficult to troubleshoot.
Absolutely, because we saw, like in all the companies that I did, the admins, when they're flooded with incident, they snooze, right? Yeah. And then after that, the auditor is gonna catch me.
Yep.
So it's better that I automate everything like here.
And then for the self-healing thing too, and then we'll go into the next one. It's an amazing stat for healing that many times a month. What was your original expectation for self-healing? Was that, okay, we'll do maybe 50 times a month, 100 times a month, or what was kind of the scope and scale on that?
So the first time that we did self-healing, it was, I would say, we were expecting once a week, something like that. Okay. And then we start seeing 3 times a day. So our thing was, we were very bad. right? But we noticed that customers or clients or employees saw it flawless because
Mm,
it was so fast they didn't see it, right? So then we start to apply to bigger things like these ones.
got it.
And now that's a lot of gains.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So for the zero call resolution, the two next ones is for service desk, 1,197 times per month. We self heal a call that you have in the service desk, and not only it does that better, but it triggers potential security incident. You know,
Hmm.
when you're playing with password,
Hmm.
unlock accounts, and everything, there's more and more with COVID. We see more and more security issues, right? So I remember the security guys would say, "Trying, we already do this." I said, "No, I don't do it. It's just you don't know, right?" So we sat down with them as well. Process. What's your process? If I do this, what happens? Security incident track. Perfect.
Hmm.
Let's automate it. If I do this, oh no, not this case, but this case. So now we have some incident for the top four, but then if we suspect a security issue, we open security tickets as well. And we actually block the user, right? So it's very fast. We block, we open a ticket for incident for security.
And what it also probably indicates too is that you have you know, kind of a process understanding of, okay, well, if this event happens, do this, and this, do this, and this, do this. What you're able, because you're able to identify what that is based on the process, you can automatically scale up quickly. So by the time it hits the incident desk, you also are hopefully eliminating false positives, but also getting the level, okay, now I need to take over on, say, step 7 versus, oh, I need to run through, which, as we all know, for security,
Absolutely.
this time is definitely of the essence.
Absolutely. So everything's logged, so we can put our AI after over it.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
hope. So you can see below here. It's not 100% success rate. There's always corner case, but
Sure.
in this case, you always have to go. You still have to go because there's a lot of savings. And I put one of the savings here for the users. I didn't put the saving for us yet, but I have it. Is the user was waiting, his waiting time was from 47 minutes to 5, right? So even service desk can just work on what the automation cannot fix. Like the admins before, the
Sure.
self-healing, same thing, right? And for the AI part, so in November we're gonna put the chatbot in place. But before that, so that's what we had to work on. We work on the workforce management. So what are the trends for incident? We put that in AI. And how do we, with all the zero call resolution, how do we put a schedule in place to optimize the operation, right? That was the first part. The second part is when we fix something and people don't put in knowledge management, how do we get the data to put it there? And then people can read it by themselves or they call. If we're not in the top four, the people can do it. So I think we're there. And now we're going to put the chatbot in the front of it. So we're going to gain even more speed.
And I think the other thing too, and maybe this goes a little bit more from a knowledge management standpoint of, it's not only just capturing what that is and producing an article on, but doing it in a way that the end user can understand and can consume it and can, fully get comprehension of what exactly that means. Can you talk a little bit more kind of the imperatives of what you're trying to do with chatbot and kind of the things you're really trying to address from either from a end user standpoint, from a workforce standpoint?
Of course. So for the service desk, I think it's all service desk is the same. We have it's mostly entry level in IT.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there's a lot of turnover of the staff because everybody wants to do better fast,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
And it's getting harder and harder to hire those people, and in Montreal it's getting really hard, especially with COVID. So but at the end we still want to give good service, and we still want to be very good in customer service and client employee experience. So we had to kind of put AI in because we didn't have any other solution. We
Mhm.
are part of a bigger service desk community. and everybody has the same issue, right? And even the big shop, we're around 12,000. We support around 12,000 users. We're 6,500 internally, and we support outsourcer. There's companies of 45,000 employees, and we are 20% taking calls. Those group are 100 something. But even 100 something, you cannot sustain this. It's too hard. So that's why we had to go in AI.
No, I think that makes total sense from the scaling of the volume coming in. I think the other thing too is really interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people in our audience are facing this as well, is just the quality and even the, I won't say the quantity, but the just-in-time knowledge, right? Things are changing so fast. To be able to get that information, just-in-time information, into a knowledge article that can be digested through a virtual chatbot. That's one of the things also too that's probably of paramount investment, along with what you do with process, but the investment in making sure that the most up-to-date knowledge is there, as well as also curate the article so if something does expire or get updated, that's reflected in there.
Absolutely. And I would say, Dave, especially for those two here, self-healing and first call resolution, I didn't put my amount because I'm not allowed, but you would be very deceived about the low numbers, the effort that I put in there. But I just have to get the right mindset of processing. And the amount, Dave, it's not what people think. I never put in all of this. I think it was 61 grand for zero call resolution.
Wow.
It's nothing compared to the savings we're making. Just if you take the user for 47 minutes, so there's 42 minutes that they are at their work instead of waiting. Times
that by itself,
yeah, already, right? Times for 6,000. Right.
So and I think it's the other thing too that's very interesting is that along with all this, I'm also, we've talked about this before too, of just the complexity of your environment and the fast moving of the environment, and still be able to do the self-healing you're doing, the zero call resolution, and now with the chatbot with the knowledge management. Again, and I know we're beating this, but I think it's really important to reinforce as dull, as mundane as it sounds, investment in process, investment in how things go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 is absolutely critical for success, whether it be for orchestration and automation, or even like for a chatbot, as well as also the rigors of building that solid knowledge base where you have the ability where things are able to curate and do it as up to date as fast as possible. Those to me seem to be the core foundations of success. Is that something that you guys have experienced as well?
Absolutely. I would say, Dave, each start of an initiative, like a project, we all fight in the first meeting, right? I'm going to tell them we're going to do this. They're going to tell me, trying, but to do this, we need this, that. And then it becomes a big project. And then I bring everybody back. Okay, but that part of the process, just that part. What's your 1, 2, 3 steps? And what do you do with it? And then they tell me, yeah, but trying, we can, because I bring them back. But you know what? After, I would say half an hour, we start saying, and most of people know the process. And when they don't know, they come back with it. And we really do the gains. But the first iteration of delivering, people are always a bit deceived on the results. Because we messed up the process. We don't remember. But then when we fine tune it, then the gains are all there.
Yeah, no, I think that makes complete sense. Well, I know you teased this up a little bit earlier, but there's some kind of exciting things that are going on with you and with Videotron going forward. I think that's something on kind of the next slide, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. So in August, we did a merge, and we hear this a lot about telcos in the market, that IT and engineering are merging into one technology group. So for guys in IT like me, it's very interesting because we would have never imagined doing 5G, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're very excited for that. The words are not always the same. The technology seems the same, but there's other things like the phone system. We don't do that, and there's a lot of the ways of thinking IT engineering very different as well, right? Not same speed, not same precision. So all stressful, but I think IT guys are pretty happy for this.
And the one would think too, I mean, again, kind of top of mind that, just for me as a lay person looking at this, you can make the argument. I'm not sure why that makes sense, kind of pulling things together. Although on the flip side, it's always been focused on how well service delivery happens, how well the operations support that, so it performs the way it's supposed to, and deliver the compelling innovations you're supposed to do as well. And based on what you saw before, you're delivering on the resource efficiencies, on the cost type of structure to deliver both capex and opex. And so, can you kind of really is that kind of what the driving force behind it is? That look, services are services and operations are operations. The ability to then scale that and make it flexible and to have those kind of cost efficiencies is of paramount importance, whether it's internally enterprise or external. Is that kind of the line of thinking on here?
Yeah, absolutely. And because in IT we take a bit more risk, but we deliver more speed. And we think that the merge of the two ways of thinking can be very powerful, right? You can bring the precision of engineering and the technology to the way IT delivers with that kind of precision, but automation, very powerful. So we start already before the merge to talk on how each other can help, but with the merge, it really bring us to the next level.
Interesting.
So, I'm telling you a little story. So the automation center of excellence, the CTO told me, we heard a lot of stuff that the KPIs that I was talking about. Can you do this for us in engineering, right? Because we have some stuff that looks like IT as well. So I said, of course. So since IT, we did IT for IT already with all the stats that I was showing you. By the way, we did a lot of HR during COVID because remember the HR process was all based on people meeting people on site.
Right.
Now with COVID, we're all home. So a lot of this, we start doing contact center and we start doing for finance. With, of course, the BMC tool. So engineering asked me, Trung, can you help us with the NOC? Network Operations Center. Can we help us with the ops and the build, because they're building stuff for the clients on the street. And of course, the marketing of all of that is very important for us.
Right.
So I said, of course, it would be a pleasure. But so we build the automation CoE, and these are the 4 subjects that we're working on. Process orchestration, always the process. After that, you do technology automation. So when you do technology automation and you call it automation, and you say, I don't understand why the user doesn't work for the user, and you escalate to his boss to force him to use it, it's because you did not do process orchestration.
Right.
Okay. If you did process,
kind of alien, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because the guy, the person saying, I don't want to use that, doesn't work.
Right.
So if
doesn't make sense, right? Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah. So we do the automation, but we do the process orchestration like he likes to do it. I don't even ask them no more, how do you do it? Just show me and then I'll do exactly like you. So robotic process automation, this was a third party that BMC recommended to us. And this is all HR we do with RPA. Because don't forget, orchestration, automation brings data somewhere else. RPA leaves the data where it's secure, right?
And also, it's just transactional, right? It's just
absolutely
sole transaction. So speed is of the paramount importance on here, along with obviously security.
Absolutely. And we have, of course, AI. So I believe that with the mix of all that for the automation CoE, we can really bring the performance to the next level for Videotron.
So
Yeah.
Great. Looking at what that the automation CoE is, I think the other thing too, along with the performance, is how do you address really the kind of the quality aspect? If you look at all this, it is tuned specifically for performance. You have the process orchestration on there, but how do you ensure the quality, or even like kind of the experience on there, that you're going to hit the mark for both of those?
Yeah, so I would say that with the pressure for cost optimization,
Mm-hmm.
we were no longer able to manage manually the quality.
Mm-hmm.
So, but by automating stuff and taking logs of our actions, we found that the data quality was even better. Right? There's never somebody that was feeling bad or the doorbell rang and they forgot to do something. It's always done, always logged. Right?
So you're able to cover all the scope and scale of what you need to have, and you're using automation and the AI to intelligently sift through all that, so nothing gets overlooked. Or if you add again something new, you can include that into, I'll just say, the search parameters, but really that's part of a fairly
Absolutely.
general view, right?
Yeah. So again, process. You know your process. You know where to hit. Automation will get you the right data.
Got it. Got it. Interesting stuff. Okay.
So now this story. So the CTO asked me, Chong, but what about cloud? I heard you guys in IT do cloud. I said, yes. Of course, it's been a couple of years actually. I'm going to show you the path because he explained to me more in engineering side. It was a lot more about PNF, so physical network function. They're working with Samsung, Nokia, Ericsson, whatever vendor it is. They were recommending more physical. So I said, of course. So I told my wife. Look, this is great opportunity for me to doing engineering technology 5G. So she told me, trying, it sounds like a trap I would set to you, right? Why don't you ask questions a bit more before you say yes? And so I just went to ask. So I explained to them, look, this is the normal path, okay? And this is what IT does in all the companies I did. We did step one on-prem. We did virtual on-prem. Some of us does cloud appliance on-prem, or some of us build a private cloud. Okay, and then we jump on the public cloud. Some
Right.
of us does cloud journey. So if some of you guys does public cloud and get a surprise bill of something, it's because you didn't do the cloud journey.
Right.
Most of the time, it's like that. And now we're at the hybrid cloud, right? Containers. You bring it on site, you bring it in the cloud, you bring it multi-cloud, and it works.
Yep.
So the CTO tells me, trying, your wife is right. So in engineering, we're here. We have a bit of this, but we're gonna skip all of this and just go here, right? And IT took us, I would say, 15 years to get there.
Wow.
Right? But engineering, they told me, look, Chung, we have 1 year. And it already started. So I told my wife, I went home, told my wife she was right. She was very happy. So she told me, Chung, why don't you bring your friends there? The friends you always talk about, the BMC friends. I said, yeah, it's a great idea. So I think with BMC, with all the technology you guys have, I would feel like I'm in really the movie, right? I can really bring it to the engineering side, the speed, the quality, and the efficient.
That's fantastic. I think the other thing too that comes to mind when you're looking, especially on the engineering side, is that, and one thing that I think, and maybe this is what you mean from containers, it basically, I'll say neutralizes, but makes it almost, deploy the best way you need to know how. So you're not necessarily gated to that serial process of you have to do this step and then you have to do this step. When containers really unlocks that deployment of choice. So you do what's right for the business,
Absolutely.
versus, oh, I need to go to S3, S4, etc. Is that kind of the right idea?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, we'll make sure to choose the right process. And there's a lot of things in 5G, the words, but yes, you can choose opposite to before you always do the same thing, right?
Yeah. Now, one of the things too. Now, again, Hollywood saga movies or
Yeah.
big pictures like this are famous for it's fast, it's furious, but there's a lot of explosions. There's a lot of things that get damaged throughout. And I would assume, certainly in a business standpoint, although that's great entertainment, that is not something as a desired outcome. As you're going fast and furious, you also need to be extraordinarily cautious as well as high on quality. So, how do you avoid, or when you hit the big wall or something happens, how do you kind of reconcile that, or what do you go do so it doesn't turn out to be one of those big saga disaster movies that Hollywood's famous for?
So frankly, Dave, we had, I would say, one big incident in IT when we started doing automation and orchestration and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the engineering side, the same thing. And it
Mm-hmm.
was big. It was big, both of us.
Mm-hmm.
So we learned that the people are more doing technology automation. So we focus back on, if you would do it manually, how would you do it in your process? And we would automate that process, not the bypass that you want to do because
Right.
you think faster means you're bypassing process.
Right. Right.
It's not that at all. It's just we can open all the tickets, we can close the tickets, we can double check whatever human can double check, like you would do it manually.
Right.
So we refocus on that, and that's how now we don't have incident no more on those things,
And I think
especially
that's
the
a
big
really
ones.
important point. I know it's been a central theme throughout our game changers and doing Fast and Furious, that when it comes down to it, because the issues will come up as you look at the core building blocks. How's the process set up? How's the foundation there? And that way, not make it such a big, solvable, scalable type of thing, but just focus in, okay, how you go, drive those type of processes.
Yeah, so I have one case for you that when we did the auditing process,
Mm.
we were expecting people to master a process, or do process, and we catch some of them,
Mm-hmm.
but we catch so many of them failing the process that are we were lacking of capacity on the server. So
Mm-hmm.
much it caught people in the process,
Hmm.
right? And then we went back and coached people on the process. Look, you have to do that. Else we're catching you guys everywhere,
Right.
right? We put some more horsepower, and then we're teaching. But before you go to the process, you're always hitting the technology, which is not
Right.
the right thing.
Right. Right. So I know we're running kind of short on here on time. Maybe just kind of wrap up. So much like the Hollywood franchise, Fast and Furious has 9 different chapters. I'm sure at Videotron you've got some kind of sequels upon sequels of that. What's the next kind of thing or next saga or big movie or game changer that you have, and maybe even next year we can start talking about what comes up next for Videotron?
So we're gonna bring the automation COE and the cloud COE to all technology at Videotron, engineering and IT. This is
Mm.
the first thing we're gonna do to bring us the speed and the cost optimization, and then just then, and then we're starting to attack the 5G. Right, 5G is very important for us. It's very
Absolutely.
important for all telecom companies
Yeah.
actually. So we're gonna bring that there because they need us to work the new way. So let's
Absolutely.
bring that there and do our get faster to deliver, right?
Absolutely.
And my son told me, look, Dad, you really have to do the 5G. I said, well,
Mhm.
what do you know about 5G? He said, I don't know nothing, but I know that when I play with your phone, it has to be
Yeah,
faster.
5G.
Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do. The next steps is about that.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you so much again, Trung, for the time and incredible knowledge. Again, I always walk away learning a lot on here. So really do appreciate that. And thanks again. And obviously, hoping next year at this time, we'll be able to do a face-to-face. But once again, Trung, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.